Police want to put a stop to a disturbing trend, the disappearance of juveniles often aided by adults. Police are warning that they'll be more aggressive from here on in prosecuting offenders linked to runaways. Here's Fern Carey.
Criminal charges are expected to be filed against persons caught harboring minors. That's according to the director of the National Crime Prevention Office, Superintendent Stephen Dean. The warning comes amid concerns over what police say is a disturbing trend involving the disappearance of several children over the last few weeks. Fortunately, all of them were found in good health. Now, because some missing cases have sexual undertones, Superintendent Dean issued this warning.
We hope to make some example of some adults, male and female, in some cases parents who are being negligent and allowing their children just to wander away. We are looking very closely at those parents for child neglect. We are looking at adults who are harboring these children. Harboring minors is a serious offense. They should not be in the company of adults.
And with the disappearance and brutal murder of 12-year-old Marco Archer still fresh in the public's memory, Superintendent Dean made this plea to children.
You might not be pleased at your parents' home at times, but there's a danger zone out there. Moving away from your parents is very dangerous. You become susceptible to predators who want to prey on you, particularly young girls and young boys. Be careful. Be in your parents' home. Listen to the rules of the household.
He's also urging parents to control their children.
You must be responsible. You cannot trust the responsibility on some aunt, some uncle, or the state. You must take responsibility for your children. And I think it cannot be transferred. That responsibility cannot be transferred to no one. That's an awesome responsibility. And while we're at it, there are some godparents out there who support these children. So godparents, you might have to chip in. If you see the children, the parents are being a little delinquent.
Fern Carey, ZNS News.
Probably reluctantly, thousands of students return to the classrooms tomorrow following the long Christmas break. As the school year nears the halfway mark, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Elma Garraway, notes the Easter term is especially important for students.
The beginning of the Easter term is one of the most important terms in the school year because teachers are ensuring the completion of all the required curriculum content. Examinations are coming up just after Easter. We've got the grade level assessment tests, the BJCs, the Rigby Reads, the Ohio math test. So this is an important time, an exciting time in schools.
Garraway is encouraging students to keep standards high.
Use of all the opportunities because they're aware that once they do well, whether in the academics or in the technical vocational subjects, the governments of the Bahamas, all of the administrations, have provided for the children of the nation the opportunity to go on to tertiary level education free of charge. We're also saying to parents that we know there are difficult times economically in some cases, and where the case is warranted, they must not keep their children away from writing examinations because of their inability to pay for the subjects.
Late former Governor General Sir Clifford Darling, who passed away last week, was a former taxicab driver who served as General Secretary of the Bahamas Taxicab Union for 8 years and then President for 10 years. He was instrumental in bargaining with hotels for better treatment for taxi drivers and was one of the leaders of the General Strike of 1958, fighting for equality for Bahamian workers. Today, taxi drivers at the airport remember this nation builder who was responsible for the career choices of many of them. Our Janaea Noel has the story.
He led the fight for taxicab drivers back in 1957, blocking the entrance to the international airport, all in an effort to ensure that taxicab drivers were favored the same as tour operators. These taxi drivers tipped their hats off to the former Governor General, who paved the way for their livelihood today.
Sir Clifford was a wonderful man. He's a no-nonsense man, and he stand up for justice. And he's a man of God, and he was in the forefront of the taxi drivers when they had the strike, and seeking justice for all mankind.
And he done wonderful things for the cab drivers. He paved the way.
He was a good leader because he was president of the taxi union, and he would cause the strike because you find at that time the UBP, they was in power, and they was given no taxi could get a job from the airport. They would have to, it was getting it all to the toll company. It was getting it all to the toll company, and so that was unfair.
And the younger drivers who did not serve in that era say that Sir Clifford's rich legacy leaves big shoes for them to fill.
We have to, let nobody push you over, because he really fought, and it hurt to see that what he fought for, it go right in vain. So it's more protect the taxi drivers so we could keep on the legacy and keep fighting for the rights of the taxi drivers.
Though small in number, female taxi drivers say that Sir Clifford's courage to stand up for justice inspired them to enter the profession that has proven to have some positive benefits. Former Vice President Cheryl Fox Ferguson.
At this time, I would like to thank Sir Clifford Darling, to have a condolence to his family, from behalf of my family and the taxi drivers, for paving the way for people like myself and women in this country. We have quite a bit of women who, this is where they make their money to feed their families.
Back at his old stomping grounds at the international airport, taxi cab drivers remembered Sir Clifford Darling for his hard work and dedication to the cause. They said his memory will live on forever. Chinaya Noel Ferguson, ZNS News.
No one should ever forget their birthdays. Two New Providence families welcomed their New Year's babies on Sunday. They are the first boy and first girl to be born in 2012 at the Princess Margaret Hospital. Now the little girl, or not so little girl, Darren, was born first at 1:31 a.m. She weighed in at 8 pounds 6 ounces. Amari was born at 1:41. He weighed in 8 pounds 10 ounces. Now parents Janisha Bosfield and Asleen Blanc were happy as hospital staff presented them with gifts from the Sandy's department store.
I feel very, very blessed, and I thank God for bringing me through it. And
you are?
overly joyed, excited, everything.